I like to start by asking, do you understand the difference between easy and simple? Picking up a tiny branch from the ground and putting it on the table is both simple and easy. You pick the branch up, you put it on the table, simple, easy. Now, I need you to put it back on the ground, pick it up again, and put it on the table. Now do that 1,000 times. Simple? Yes, but not easy at all. 1,000 times? Are you kidding me? At the 100th time, your waist and knees should be squeaking like an old metal door. I don't think you'd make it to 1,000. Simple means simple, the opposite of complex, low complexity, simple. That's having a few steps. While easy means easy, the opposite of difficult, low difficulty. Easy, that's requiring low effort. Hey, do I have your attention? Are you following me? Good. That means a task can be simple yet difficult. A life where we have mastered discipline, are financially free, physically fit, mentally and emotionally stable, is very, very easy to close our eyes and dream about. But the steps to that life are simple, maybe difficult, but they are simple. I say they are difficult only in the sense that you have to keep at it for a long time. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme or a get-fit-quick scheme. But what's the hurry? We have the rest of our lives to live our lives.
Welcome to Smiley Finance, where money talks are simple, smart, and life-changing.
Everybody wants to save more money, but almost nobody wants to feel deprived. That's the problem. The moment people hear words like budgeting, cutting expenses, or spending less, many immediately imagine a miserable life. No fun, no enjoyment, no freedom, just endless sacrifice. And honestly, that's why so many people fail financially. Not because saving money is impossible, but because they approach it in a way that feels emotionally painful and unsustainable. Most people try to change their financial lives through extreme restriction. They suddenly cut everything. No eating out, no entertainment, no enjoyment, no hobbies, no flexibility. For a few weeks, they feel disciplined. Then eventually frustration builds, and when frustration becomes too strong, people snap emotionally and return to old habits even harder than before. This cycle happens constantly. Overspend, feel guilty, become extreme, feel miserable, quit completely, repeat. That's why this video matters, because learning how to stop wasting money without feeling miserable is one of the most important financial skills anyone can develop. And honestly, it has very little to do with becoming cheap. That's an important distinction. Financial discipline is not about making life miserable. It's about making spending intentional. There's a huge difference. Because many people are not actually unhappy because they spend too little. They're unhappy because they spend emotionally without realizing it. And the emotional spending creates temporary pleasure but long-term stress. That's the trap. Now, here's the first thing people need to understand. Most wasted money is emotional money, not logical money. People rarely waste money because they carefully analyze their financial goals and consciously decided to sabotage themselves. They waste money emotionally, out of boredom, stress, comparison, loneliness, insecurity, impulse. And modern society constantly encourages this behavior. Advertisements don't just sell products anymore. They sell emotions. Comfort, status, validation, escape, confidence. That's why spending often feels good temporarily. The brain gets rewarded emotionally. But unfortunately, emotional relief and financial wisdom are not always the same thing. Now, here's the dangerous part. Most emotional spending doesn't even feel dramatic. It feels small. Tiny purchases, quick convenient spending, impulse online orders, subscriptions, food delivery, little rewards. Individually, they seem harmless. But repeated consistently over months and years, they quietly destroy financial progress. And because the purchases feel emotionally justified in the moment, people rarely notice the damage immediately. That's why awareness is the foundation of financial control. You cannot change spending habits you don't fully recognize. Now, one of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to save money is attacking everything equally. That rarely works, because not all spending creates equal happiness. This is critical to understand. Some expenses genuinely improve life significantly. Others barely matter emotionally after a few days. The goal is not to remove joy from life. The goal is to identify which spending actually creates meaningful value and which spending is simply unconscious habit. That changes everything. For example, someone may deeply value travel. Travel genuinely creates memories, fulfillment, and happiness for them. But maybe that same person wastes huge amounts of money on random online shopping they barely even remember later. Another person may value fitness and health. Gym memberships and healthy food improve their life significantly. But expensive status purchases bring almost no lasting happiness. This is why intentional spending matters more than extreme frugality. Financially successful people are often not people who never spend money. They're people who spend consciously. Now, here's something most people never realize. Many purchases lose emotional value extremely quickly. Think about how often people desperately want something, then barely care about it weeks later. New phones, fashion trends, gadgets, impulse purchases. The excitement fades incredibly fast, but the financial consequences often remain much longer. This is one reason companies constantly push upgrades and trends, because modern consumer culture depends on dissatisfaction. People are encouraged to constantly crave the next thing, the next upgrade, the next lifestyle improvement, the next trend. And social media intensifies this dramatically. People now compare themselves to millions of strangers constantly. Luxury lifestyles, perfect apartments, expensive vacations. And after enough exposure, ordinary life starts feeling emotionally inadequate. That dissatisfaction becomes expensive, because when people feel emotionally behind, they spend to compensate psychologically. Now, here's an uncomfortable truth. Many people don't actually spend money to improve life. They spend money to improve identity, to feel successful, to feel admired, to feel important, to feel less insecure. And spending tied to identity becomes very difficult to control emotionally, because now purchases are connected to self-worth. That's dangerous financially, especially in the social media era where appearances are constantly rewarded publicly. Now, let's talk about one of the most powerful financial habits anyone can develop: creating friction before spending. Modern technology removed friction almost completely. One-click purchases, instant financing, saved payment methods, fast delivery. People can spend money almost unconsciously now. That's incredibly dangerous, because impulse spending thrives in environments with low friction. So adding small barriers changes behavior dramatically. Waiting 24 hours before non-essential purchases, removing saved card information, creating monthly spending reviews, asking, "Will I still care about this in 2 weeks?" These tiny pauses interrupt emotional spending patterns, and honestly, many purchases disappear completely once emotions cool down. Now, another important principle. People need replacement habits, not just restriction. This is why extreme budgeting usually fails emotionally. If someone's entire emotional reward system depends on spending, simply removing spending creates emptiness. That emptiness eventually triggers relapse. So instead of only cutting spending, people need healthier emotional rewards too. Experiences, relationships, exercise, creativity, purposeful hobbies, learning, things that create fulfillment without constant consumption. Because often people overspend not because they love buying things, but because they're trying to fill emotional gaps. Now let's discuss convenience spending. This quietly drains enormous amounts of money today. Food delivery, ride-sharing constantly, subscriptions, convenience fees, instant gratification services. Modern life makes convenience extremely addictive. And honestly, convenience itself is not evil. The problem is unconscious convenience. Small convenience spending repeated daily becomes financially massive over time. Now, here's the important question. Does the convenience genuinely improve your life enough to justify the cost? Sometimes yes, sometimes no, but most people never pause to evaluate this consciously. They operate automatically. And automatic spending usually becomes expensive. Now, here's another powerful mindset shift. Cheap and intentional are not the same thing. A financially healthy life does not mean refusing all enjoyment. It means prioritizing what truly matters while eliminating what doesn't. This is why some people who earn modest incomes still feel financially peaceful, while some high earners constantly feel stressed, because financial peace is often more connected to alignment than income alone. When spending reflects genuine priorities, guilt decreases, stress decreases, clarity increases. Now, let's talk about something many people underestimate heavily: the emotional cost of clutter and overconsumption. Modern culture encourages endless accumulation: more clothes, more gadgets, more stuff. But many people secretly feel overwhelmed by excess, not happier. Overconsumption often creates mental noise. And interestingly, many people feel emotionally lighter after simplifying spending habits, because intentional living creates clarity. Now, here's another financial truth most people ignore: small, repeated savings matter more than dramatic short-term sacrifice. People love dramatic transformations emotionally, but sustainable financial improvement usually looks boring. Cooking more often, reducing impulse purchases, canceling unused subscriptions, buying fewer unnecessary upgrades. Repeated consistently over years, these habits become powerful. But because the progress feels slow initially, many people underestimate it. Now let's talk about social pressure. This destroys countless financial plans. People overspend trying to match the lifestyles of friends, coworkers, or social media influencers. Expensive birthdays, luxury outings, status competition. And honestly, many people are quietly broke trying to avoid looking broke. That's exhausting. One of the most financially freeing skills anyone can develop is becoming comfortable disappointing social expectations occasionally. Not every invitation requires overspending. Not every trend requires participation. Not every luxury purchase is necessary. And surprisingly, most people think about your financial choices far less than you imagine. Now, here's another important principle. Learn the difference between temporary pleasure and lasting fulfillment. Many purchases create quick excitement, but no lasting value. Meanwhile, some of the most meaningful parts of life cost very little: conversations, friendships, health, peace of mind, purpose, time freedom. Financial stress often decreases when people stop trying to purchase emotional fulfillment through endless consumption. Because consumption has no finish line. There's always something newer, better, more luxurious. That cycle never ends unless people consciously step outside it. Now let's discuss budgeting differently for a moment. Most people hate budgets because they associate budgeting with punishment. But good budgeting is simply awareness plus priorities. That's all. A budget should support life goals, not make life feel miserable. And honestly, people who budget intentionally often enjoy spending more because they planned for it consciously. Guilt usually comes from unconscious spending, not intentional spending. Now, another major reason people struggle financially is emotional exhaustion. After stressful days, discipline weakens. People seek comfort quickly, and companies know this. That's why emotional marketing works so well late at night, during stress, or during boredom. Understanding emotional patterns around spending changes everything, because once people recognize emotional triggers, they gain power over them. Now, here's another uncomfortable truth. Some people fear saving money because deep down they associate financial discipline with losing identity or enjoyment, especially if spending became connected to social status or emotional coping. That's why mindset matters enormously. Financial improvement should not feel like punishment. It should feel like building freedom, because ultimately, wasted money costs more than dollars. It costs flexibility, peace of mind, choices, future opportunities. And reducing waste is not about becoming obsessed with money. It's about reclaiming control. Now, here's perhaps the biggest secret to spending less without feeling miserable. Focus on building a life you genuinely enjoy outside consumption, because people with meaningful lives often feel less desperate to constantly buy emotional stimulation. When life feels empty, consumption increases. When life feels purposeful, spending pressure often decreases naturally. That's why financial health and emotional health are deeply connected. And finally, understand this: you do not need to become perfect financially. You do not need extreme discipline every second. You do not need to eliminate every unnecessary purchase. The goal is awareness, intentionality, balance, because financial freedom is not built through self-punishment. It's built through consistent, thoughtful decisions repeated over time. And honestly, the people who manage money best are usually not the people who hate spending. They're the people who understand the difference between spending that genuinely improves life and spending that quietly steals future freedom for temporary emotional relief.
If this video helped you see money differently, subscribe for more videos about financial freedom, investing, wealth psychology, and building a better future one decision at a time.